Dear chosen one, what I am about to share with you will touch your soul in ways you never imagined. This is not just another message, it is a truth that has been calling to your soul for years, maybe even a lifetime. If you are watching this video right now, please understand that this is not an accident. This is not a coincidence. This is God's providence. God has placed you here at this exact moment because He wants you to hear this. He wants you to remember who you really are. Tell me, have you ever felt like an outsider, even in a room full of people? Have you ever looked at the world around you and wondered why you never quite fit in? Maybe you've questioned why relationships fall apart, why certain doors close no matter how hard you try, or why your heart aches with a longing that you can't quite put into words. You have spent your life searching for a place where you belong, but let me tell you something. The reason you've never truly felt at home in this world is because you were never meant to be like everyone else. You were set apart. You are different because you are chosen. This world doesn't always recognize the chosen ones immediately. Just like Joseph was rejected by his brothers, just like David was overlooked before he became king, just like Esther had to hide her true identity before stepping into her purpose, you have been walking a path of preparation. The isolation, the rejection, the struggles, they weren't punishments. They were positioning you for something far greater than you can even imagine. Maybe there were times when you felt invisible. Maybe you've spent years wondering why people you loved turned away, why you kept facing setback after setback. But what if I told you that every single trial you have faced was a divine setup for a breakthrough? What if I told you that the pain, the loneliness, the misunderstandings were all part of your training? What if I told you that God was never punishing you, He was preparing you? Chosen one, you are not just another person wandering through life. You are a warrior in the spirit. And the fact that you are watching this means that your time has come. The shift is happening. The season you've been waiting for is approaching. Can you feel it? That stirring inside of you, that unexplainable knowing that change is near? It is not your imagination. It is your calling. So I invite you to step boldly into this truth. Don't just listen, claim it. Declare it right now in the comments. Type, I am chosen, so that heaven, earth, and even the enemy knows that you are aware of who you are. If this resonates with your spirit, if you feel something awakening within you, like this video to send out a declaration of faith. Subscribe and become part of this growing family of chosen ones. Because together, we are not just individuals walking separate paths, we are a movement. This is just the beginning. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Stay with me, because what comes next will shift your entire perspective on why you were set apart from the very beginning. Have you ever found yourself questioning why you don't quite fit in? Why your mind sees things differently, why your heart longs for something deeper, why you seem to walk alone on a path no one else understands? It's not your imagination. It's not a flaw. It's confirmation that you are set apart. From the moment you took your first breath, God had His hand on your life. He saw you before the world did. He knew your purpose before you even had words to express it. And while others may not recognize it, God has never overlooked you. Just like Joseph, who was given a dream that set him apart from his brothers, you too have been given something unique, a vision, a calling, a divine gift that makes you different. But just like Joseph, that difference comes with challenges. People may not understand you. They may try to label you, question you, or even reject you. Some may have even laughed at your dreams, dismissed your ideas, or made you feel as if you were too much, too deep, too ambitious, too different. But remember this, the very thing that makes you different is the very thing that makes you chosen. The world often fears what it cannot categorize. When Jesus walked the earth, He was misunderstood. The Pharisees couldn't place Him. His own town rejected Him. His disciples didn't always comprehend His purpose. Yet, none of that changed who He was. In the same way, the opinions of others do not define you. Their rejection does not reduce your worth. If anything, it affirms that you were never meant to conform. You were meant to stand out. There is a reason why your spirit resists blending in. You were born to shine, to lead, to break patterns that have held generations captive. Have you ever wondered why you feel so deeply? Why certain conversations drain you? Why surface-level connections don't satisfy you? It's because you were created for more. And the moment you fully embrace that, the moment you stop seeking validation from those who were never meant to see your worth, is the moment you step into true freedom. But I want to ask you something. When did you first realize you were different? Was it in childhood, when you sensed things that others didn't? Was it in your relationships, when you found yourself longing for something deeper than what others seemed content with? Was it in moments of solitude, where you felt God speaking to you in ways you couldn't explain? Share your experience in the comments. Your story matters, and there is power in acknowledging your journey. And as you reflect on that, I want you to hold on to this truth: you are not alone in this. There is a community of chosen ones walking this path with you. A generation of people rising up, finally recognizing their calling, stepping into the fullness of who they were meant to be. You are part of something greater. The world may not always see it, but heaven does. And that is all that truly matters. Now, let's go deeper. What does it truly mean to walk as a chosen one? Because knowing who you are is just the beginning. The real transformation happens and you step fully into your divine purpose. Keep going, there's more waiting for you. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to turn against you for no reason? Why friends you once trusted now seem distant or even resentful? Why some people smile to your face but secretly hope for your failure? It's painful. It's confusing. But it's also a sign that you are stepping into something greater. When you are chosen, your very existence challenges those who refuse to step into their own potential. Your light exposes their insecurities. It's not that they hate you, it's that they cannot understand how someone like you, someone who walked the same streets, faced the same struggles, and endured the same hardships, could rise above the limitations they accepted for themselves. Instead of seeking growth, they choose resentment. Instead of reflecting on their own path, they fixate on yours. And that is why you face jealousy and opposition. Look at the story of Joseph. His own brothers despised him, not because he wronged them, but because he had a dream. His mere existence, his God-given vision, made them uncomfortable. They mocked him. They plotted against him. They sold him into slavery. But what they didn't realize was that every act of betrayal was only pushing him closer to his destiny. The pit was not his end, it was his beginning. And the very people who betrayed him, one day, they would have to come before him, seeking his help. What about you? Have you ever experienced betrayal from people you thought would support you? Have you ever felt the sting of being underestimated, laughed at, or excluded simply because you refused to dim your light? Share your story in the comments. Let others know that they are not alone in this battle. Because the truth is, being chosen comes with opposition. But here's the key: you must not allow their negativity to shape your identity. When they speak against you, do not let their words take root in your soul. When they try to tear you down, do not give them the satisfaction of seeing you broken. Instead, let their doubt fuel your determination. Let their insults become the fire that refines you. David was just a shepherd boy when he stepped onto the battlefield against Goliath. No one believed in him. His brothers mocked him. The soldiers doubted him. Even the king questioned whether he was capable. But David didn't let their disbelief stop him. He didn't fight for their approval, he fought because he knew God had prepared him for that moment. And because of that faith, he won a battle that no one thought he could. You don't need the validation of others to fulfill your purpose. You don't need their approval to succeed. The more resistance you face, the greater your breakthrough will be. So the next time someone belittles you, the next time they say you will never make it, the next time they roll their eyes at your dreams, smile. Because what they don't realize is that their opposition is only confirming your elevation. But I want to hear from you. How have you handled jealousy and negativity in your own life? Have you ever had to walk away from people who didn't support your growth? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. Because this journey isn't meant to be walked alone. And if you are facing opposition right now, take heart, it's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you are rising. Now, let's go even deeper. What happens when the very people you hoped would stand with you become the ones who try to hold you back? How do you move forward when the ones closest to you refuse to see your worth? That's what we're going to uncover next. Keep watching, because this next part might be exactly what you need to hear. There comes a point on your journey when you look around and realize, no one is standing beside you. The friends who once walked with you have drifted away. The people you thought would support you have turned silent. The spaces where you used to feel at home now seem unfamiliar. And in that solitude, a question echoes in your mind, why am I always alone? Dear chosen one, understand this, your loneliness is not a punishment. It is preparation. God is setting you apart, not to isolate you, but to elevate you. You were never meant to blend in with the crowd. You were never meant to walk the well-traveled road. Just as an eagle soars alone while other birds flock together, your calling requires separation. Look at Moses. He was raised in Pharaoh's palace, surrounded by luxury and power, yet deep inside, he knew he didn't belong. He was different. And when the time came for him to step into his divine purpose, God removed him from everything familiar. For 40 years, he wandered in the wilderness, alone. But in that solitude, God was shaping him, preparing him for a mission that no one else could fulfill. Moses had to walk alone before he could lead others to freedom. And isn't that what you felt? That sense of not belonging, of not fitting in, of being misunderstood by those around you? It's not because there's something wrong with you, it's because you are meant for something higher. Not everyone is meant to climb the mountain with you. The air is thinner at the top. The journey is steeper. Some people do not have the strength, the endurance, or the vision to go where you are going. But here's where many struggle, letting go. It's hard to release people who once felt like home. It's painful to outgrow relationships. But just like Abraham had to leave his homeland without knowing exactly where God was leading him, sometimes you must walk forward in faith, even when it means walking alone. Tell me, have you experienced this? Have you ever felt the weight of loneliness on your journey? Share your story in the comments. Because you are not truly alone. There are others, just like you, walking their own path of separation and transformation. The enemy will try to use loneliness to break you, to make you question your worth, to make you believe that you are abandoned. But hear me, you are never abandoned. The very fact that you feel set apart is proof that God has His hand on you. You are not being left behind. You are being led forward. And when the time is right, when your preparation is complete, God will align you with the right people. Those who understand your vision. Those who will not be threatened by your growth. Those who will walk beside you, not out of obligation, but out of divine alignment. So, if you find yourself walking alone today, hold your head high. This season of solitude is refining you, strengthening you, and preparing you for something greater. The summit you are climbing is not meant for the masses. It is meant for the chosen. And you, dear one, are chosen. But this journey isn't over. What happens when the very people you love the most, the ones you thought would always be there, are the ones who cannot walk this path with you? That's what we're diving into next. Keep watching, because this next part might be the confirmation your soul has been waiting for. Have you ever wondered why your journey has been filled with so many challenges? Why every step forward seems to come with resistance? Why, just when you think you're close to a breakthrough, another obstacle appears? It's not because you're cursed. It's not because you're forgotten. It's because you are chosen. And when you are chosen, your path is not easy, it is refined. Gold does not shine in its raw form. It must first be placed in fire, where the heat melts away the impurities, revealing its true value. And that is exactly what is happening in your life. You are not being tested to be destroyed. You are being tested to be strengthened. Every hardship, every betrayal, every setback is not a punishment, it is preparation. Look at Joseph. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. But was that the end of his story? No. What others meant for harm, God used for good. Because of every trial, Joseph was placed in a position of power, second only to Pharaoh, where he was able to save not only Egypt but the very family that betrayed him. What if Joseph had given up in the prison? What if he had believed that his suffering was meaningless? He would have never seen the fulfillment of the vision God had given him. And then there was David, the forgotten shepherd boy. When the prophet Samuel came to anoint the next king of Israel, David's own father didn't even consider him worthy enough to be presented. He was overlooked, underestimated, and left in the fields. But God saw him. And while others dismissed him, God was preparing him. David didn't go straight to the throne, he had to face Goliath, endure betrayal, and survive years of hardship. But every trial was sharpening him into the leader he was meant to be. The boy they once ignored became the greatest king of Israel. What about you? Have you ever felt rejected by those closest to you? Have you ever felt like life was throwing one storm after another at you? Don't mistake your trials for failure, see them as your training ground. The pain you have endured is not for nothing. It is making you stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the destiny that awaits you. Take a moment to reflect. What trial have you faced that, looking back, actually prepared you for something greater? Share it in the comments. Your story could inspire someone who is in the middle of their own storm. The enemy wants you to believe that your hardships mean you are not blessed. But hear this truth, the greatest victories come from the greatest battles. You are not being buried, you are being planted. And in due time, you will rise. So don't quit. Don't let the weight of your challenges make you forget the greatness that is within you. The fire is not here to consume you, it is here to refine you. And when you emerge from it, you will not just survive, you will shine. But this journey does not end here. After the trials comes the transformation. After the fire comes the favor. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. Keep watching, because what's ahead will change everything. There comes a moment in life when you realize that the path you are meant to walk is not the one that others have laid out for you. It's not the one that is easy, expected, or widely accepted. It's the one that requires faith. And faith, dear chosen one, often means walking alone, stepping into the unknown, and trusting God's plan even when it doesn't make sense. Have you ever felt the pressure of following what society expects of you? Have you ever had family or friends question your choices, telling you that you should take the safe route, the logical path? Maybe they have said things like, "Why don't you just do what everyone else is doing? Why take the risk? Why go against the grain?" But let me tell you something, you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. Look at Abraham. God told him to leave everything he knew, his home, his land, his family, and step into the unknown. Abraham had no map, no guarantees, no proof of what was ahead. All he had was faith. And because he obeyed, because he chose to follow God's voice rather than the expectations of those around him, he became the father of many nations. But what if Abraham had stayed behind? What if he had let fear or the opinions of others hold him back? He would have never walked into the blessings that God had prepared for him. And then there's Noah. God called him to build an ark in a time when there was no sign of rain. People mocked him. They laughed. They ridiculed his faith. Yet Noah stayed the course. He didn't let their doubts shake him because his faith was not in man, it was in God. And when the flood came, when the storms raged, it was Noah who was saved while those who doubted perished. So what about you? Are you still trying to live according to what others think is best for you, or are you ready to step boldly into the unknown, trusting that God's plan for you is greater than what anyone else can see? God is calling you to a unique journey, one that not everyone will understand. Not everyone can walk with you. Not everyone will support you. And that's okay. Because what God has for you is greater than their approval. What God is leading you toward is greater than their understanding. Take a moment to reflect. What is one step of faith that you know you need to take, but fear has been holding you back? Share it in the comments below. There is power in speaking it into existence, in declaring, "I am ready." The road ahead may not be easy, but it is your road. It is the one that God has prepared just for you. So don't hesitate. Don't second-guess yourself. Step forward with boldness, knowing that He goes before you. And as we move forward, let's talk about what happens when you finally embrace your calling. What does life look like when you truly surrender to God's plan? Stay with me, because in the next part, you're going to see just how powerful your decision to walk this path will be. Fear has a way of creeping into our hearts when we least expect it. It whispers doubts into our minds, telling us we are not ready, not strong enough, not worthy of the journey ahead. But dear chosen one, let me remind you of something powerful today. You may not see the full picture, but God does. Every moment of uncertainty, every obstacle, every rejection you have faced, it has all been part of a greater plan, a plan that is unfolding in ways you cannot yet comprehend. Have you ever wondered why certain doors closed, why opportunities slipped through your fingers, or why the road has been filled with detours? It's not because you were forgotten. It's because you are being prepared. Think of Joseph, the young man who had a dream of greatness. But before he could step into his destiny, he was betrayed, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and imprisoned for years. Imagine the confusion he must have felt. Imagine how many nights he must have wondered, "God, where are you? Why is this happening?" Yet, in the midst of the waiting, God was positioning him for something far greater. When the time was right, Joseph was elevated from the prison to the palace, from being forgotten to becoming a ruler. So if today you feel like you are in the middle of a storm, if the road ahead seems unclear, know this: your suffering is not in vain. Every setback is a setup for a breakthrough. Every disappointment is a redirection towards something better. The doors that have closed were not meant for you. The people who left were never part of your destiny. Now, I want you to take a moment and reflect. What is one challenge you are currently facing that makes you question God's plan? Share it in the comments below, not as a sign of weakness, but as an act of faith. When you speak it out, you are releasing it into God's hands, and He will turn it into a testimony. The enemy wants you to believe that you are alone in this journey. He wants you to think that no one understands, that no one sees your struggle. But listen to me, God sees you. He walks beside you. And He is guiding you even when you cannot feel it. Just as He was with Moses when he led the Israelites out of Egypt, parting the Red Sea before them, He is with you now, making a way where there seems to be no way. This is not the time to shrink back in fear. This is the time to stand firm in faith. You are not alone, and you are not forgotten. God is walking ahead of you, clearing the path, setting things in motion. So do not be afraid. Trust in His timing. Lean into His promises. And know that the very thing that feels like an obstacle today will soon become a testimony of His goodness. And as we continue this journey together, let's talk about what happens when you surrender your fears and step boldly into the unknown. Because on the other side of fear is the greatest breakthrough of your life. As we come to the end of this message, let this truth settle in your heart: you are not ordinary, you are extraordinary. The world may try to convince you otherwise, may try to label you as different, may try to make you question your worth. But hear me, you were set apart for something greater. Chosen by God, handpicked for a purpose that only you can fulfill. When you look back at your life, you will see the evidence. The struggles you've endured, the challenges you've faced, the moments when you felt alone, all of it was shaping you. Not to break you, but to build you. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. Just like Esther, who was an orphan before she became a queen, or David, who was overlooked before he was anointed king, God always positions his chosen ones in the right place, at the right time, for a divine assignment. Now is the time to embrace that calling. No more doubting. No more waiting for approval. No more playing small. God has already affirmed you. You don't need validation from the world when you have been approved by heaven. Stand tall, walk boldly, and step into the purpose that has been written for you. Before you go, I want to take a moment to pray over you. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this chosen one who is listening right now. I thank you for their life, for their journey, and for the purpose you have placed within them. Lord, I ask that you strengthen them in their moments of doubt, that you remind them of who they are in you. Let them feel your presence so deeply that they never question their worth again. I pray that every closed door, every delay, and every setback be turned into a stepping stone toward their destiny. Surround them with your love, guide their steps, and bless them abundantly. In Jesus' name, amen. And before you go, I want you to do something powerful. Declare it in the comments, I am chosen. Let the words come alive as you speak them. Let them be a declaration of faith, a reminder to yourself and to the world that you were meant for something greater. If this message has resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. There is someone out there who needs to hear this. Someone who is struggling, questioning their worth, wondering if they matter. Be the light that leads them to the truth. Share this video with them. Let them know that they are not alone. And if you haven't already, join this community of the chosen. Subscribe, stay connected, and let's continue growing together in faith, purpose, and divine favor. This is only the beginning. The best is yet to come. Thank you for being here, for opening your heart, and for walking this journey with me. I appreciate you more than words can express, and I pray that as you leave this video, you walk with confidence, knowing that you are deeply loved and divinely chosen. May God bless you and keep you always.